Hi, it's Louise Tanner-Stokes from the Anti-Dieting Revolution, and this week I wanted to talk about what healthy eating really means, because there's so much confusing advice out there, isn't there? I hear from people all the time, especially if you've been yo-yo dieting forever and you've been on all the different diets, you've been to all the different slimming clubs, you've been given so many rules and all these lists of foods that you should be eating, lists of foods that you shouldn't be eating, and so many diets and slimming clubs, they just make it so complicated. You know, they tell you that there's all these foods that you're allowed to eat and these foods that you're not allowed to eat, and you have to follow these special weird recipes, and some of the rules are just so weird and unnecessary, and it just makes it so confusing and complicated. And then the media doesn't help, because they're always bringing out some article about like a tiny little bit of research that says you should do this or you should do that, and it's all confusing and it overcomplicates things for you, and it doesn't have to be this way. So let's start by just talking about what healthy eating isn't, because there's a few things that I hear pop up all the time, and I just think you don't need to listen to that. You don't need to do that. Make it easier for yourself, because it doesn't have to be complicated. Healthy eating, once you get the basics, it's pretty simple. You don't have to make it difficult for yourself. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So the first thing then is, healthy eating isn't about eating clean. I hear this one over and over again. People talk about, trying to eat clean, trying to only eat good foods, only trying to eat healthy foods. And this good food, bad food mentality doesn't help you. I've talked about this loads of times before. When you look at some foods as being good or clean or healthy, often you can think that it's unlimited, and then you can end up overeating. So then it's you're not eating healthily then if you're overeating. And likewise on the other side, if you're saying some foods are bad or they're naughty or they're banned, then you feel guilty when you have those foods, and then you're more likely to overeat because you feel rubbish. You end up eating more to feel better, you get stuck in that guilt binge cycle. So that good food, bad food mentality, looking at some foods as being clean or right, or the right things to be eating, doesn't help you. Healthy eating doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to eat this perfect, virtuous diet. Food isn't linked to your morality. So forget this idea of eating clean. That doesn't help you. The next thing that I often hear is, you don't need to eat expensive superfoods, okay? The term superfood is it's marketing, okay? It's not like a real scientific word. It doesn't mean anything. It just makes the food more expensive. There is no one food that you could eat that would make the rest of your diet better. There's no substitute for eating a well-balanced diet overall, okay? So ignore the idea of superfoods. Obviously, if you like things like avocados or blueberries, that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying don't eat those things. It's just don't think that you have to eat those things. It's not about the individual foods, okay? And then the last thing I wanted to just point out that healthy eating isn't, is that there's no need to cut out the food that you love. Okay, because let's face it, the foods that people think, oh, I have to cut these things out, they're often, these foods that are labelled as bad and naughty. The cake, the chocolate, the biscuits, the crisps, the sweets. The things that are high in fat, the things that are high in sugar, the things that are high in salt. Okay, you don't need to cut out those things. Okay, that's not going to help you. Again, the minute you cut those things out, you're more likely to want them more, and then you're more likely to binge on them when you have them because you feel guilty and you feel like you've been naughty or you've done something wrong. So you don't need to cut out those things. You don't need to cut out anything, okay? So what is healthy eating then. So healthy eating is simply about nourishing your body, okay? It's about giving your body all the nutrients that it needs so that it can be healthy and well. And that's about eating a range of different foods, okay? And it's normal foods, normal meals. You don't have to cook anything special. You don't have to buy special expensive foods or special supplements or special meal replacements or anything like that. It's just normal foods, okay? You don't have to do anything wacky or complicated or anything like that. So it's just about variety and eating a range of different foods. That's the key thing to healthy eating. So here are my tips to help you eat more healthily. So the first thing is have breakfast, okay? Start the day well, okay? You've probably heard this before, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It really does make a difference. If you have breakfast, it gets your metabolism going, it helps you feel ready for the day, it gives you the energy to do what you need to do in the day. And time again, I hear people say when they have breakfast, when they don't normally have breakfast when they start having breakfast, they find they don't eat as much later on in the day. They're not picking and snacking and craving foods because they're giving their body what it needs. They're not kind of, undernourishing it. So having breakfast makes a really big difference. So have breakfast, start the day well. The next thing is to try and eat regularly throughout the day. And what this does is it means you're giving your body a nice steady stream of energy. And that helps you to stop snacking and to avoid that picking, because if you're giving your body a nice steady stream of energy, you're not kind of searching for the quick fix energy if you're giving your body what it needs. The next thing is make sure that your meals are well balanced, okay? So this, how you do this is by making sure that you're eating a range of different foods. So trying to have food from different food groups so that you're giving your body all the nutrients it needs. And then if you're nourishing your body that way, you're less likely to have cravings. So you're less likely to, crave the fatty and sugary and salty, snacky kind of things. Because you're giving your body what it needs, especially if you're giving, you're having a nice steady stream of energy, you're getting plenty of fruit and veg, you're getting all the different vitamins and minerals, as well as the big nutrients, the protein, the carbohydrate, and the fat. All of those things are important. And then the last thing is give yourself permission to have a little bit of what you fancy, okay? So let yourself have the treats that you like. Let yourself have a little bit of chocolate. Let yourself have a little bit of cake. Obviously, we don't need these things regularly. We don't need these things frequently. But let yourself have them occasionally, because then you're less likely to feel guilty and binge on them if you're telling yourself you're not allowed to have them. So give yourself permission to have a little bit of what you fancy once in a while. Some people find it helpful to have a treat day, or some people find it helpful to think about how often they would normally have those things and then just reduce it down a little bit. But give yourself permission, okay? Don't make yourself feel guilty when you have those things, because then you're more likely to think, oh, I've blown it, I might as well have more, and then you feel rubbish, then you have more, and you get stuck in that circle. Okay, so hope you found that useful.